All right, welcome to part two, and I already have 3 of the blocks bolted down for the boxing out the base plate. Now for the piece number 4, it's going to be hard to, I could measure with a scale to the edge of the hole, and the hole is a 3/8 hole, so I could just add 3/16 to whatever I measure from here to the start of the hole. I could put a piece of 3/8 material through the hole that's a snug fit, and I could take some snap gauges or inside mics and measure this distance. But what I think I'm going to try, just to make it easier on me, is just to take this whole base plate, flip it upside down, or right side up, I guess, and dog it down to the table, but have this piece right underneath because it is the same height as this piece and this, so it should be kind of snug. And then from the top down, I can take a 3/8 end mill and spot it into that hole, and I could just run it for just a few seconds and touch right on top of my piece here and get my hole. And then I can take this, put it in the vise, spot in that 3/8 end mill on that same hole, and then from there I can drill and tap for 3/8 16 threads. So I'm going to try that, see how it works. I would say that worked out pretty well. It's right up against the other piece, flat up top. Bolt is all the way down. Inside look, it's up against the side wall there. All right, just 3 more to go. Okay, the base plate for the cross project has taken quite a bit of time, but that's okay. I am nearing the final stages of it. So all my pieces down there have been painted, and the paint actually kind of comes out to a similar color, if you will, to the stainless here. Now, if you can see, I've stamped A, B, and so forth all the way through G, and I've stamped the mating letters on each of the blocks so that I can remember exactly where each block bolts to through the 7 holes here. So I'm going to bolt them all together, and then I have one thin piece of stainless that will be hopefully welded to this side, and then the base plate will be done. And then I will be able to unbolt my block and then drill the holes I need to in this block for the body pieces, or the, I guess, lower half of the cross pieces that will bolt to this block and continue on with the project. So these have dried overnight, and I just left the bottom unpainted because that bottom, this face will be up against this face, hidden away. And this block, it's block D. So I just have to find, if that was A, hole A, B, C, and D, D will bolt right here, like so. So you see the stamping for it right there. It's kind of hard to see. Stamping for it on the block. Boom. I just gotta grab a bolt, tighten it up. So let me do that, and the project continues. the cross is done. Now, there were many steps along the way that I was not able to show you because I just had to crank this out. This is my last project, my last metal project, because I am quitting at the machine shop for reasons I won't go into right now in this video. But this is the full built out stainless steel cross, 3 pieces. So the top part bolts to the body, lower portion of the cross, which bolts to the base plate. So let's look at the base plate first before I tip it up. Most of it is stainless steel. It's a 1/2 inch thick piece of stainless, 12 by 12. And what I did is, you'll see in some of the clip before this that I milled out on the bottom here. You can kind of see it right there. I milled a flat section all the way around. And then I had these blocks. These were actually part of a big old chunk of regular mild steel, and I was cutting them off in these thin sections and milling them on both sides to get them flat, and then milling them across the top to get them flat. That way I could drill through the base plate and through these blocks and then tap the blocks for 3/8 by 16 threads and put a 3/8 stainless bolt into each block. And you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks. They're a little over 5/8 of an inch thick, and they're nice and beefy, so it adds a lot of weight into the base plate, because I essentially boxed it out and kept the middle kind of hollow or recessed, if you will, so I could have the bolts sticking out through and not worry about them sticking lower than the base plate. And then this is the front of the cross, and I simply just took a piece of leftover stainless material from all my 1/4 inch cuts, or my 1/4 inch material, but after all the cuts I had a piece left over, and I cut it a little thinner than 5 inches, down to like 2.5 or so, and then welded it, just sweated with the TIG welder, the 1/4 inch thick piece material to the 1/2 inch plate. And I did it on the inside as well. Go ahead and roast my TIG welds. Definitely need more practice with the welder, but won't be doing much machining or welding for a long time, I suspect. So I'm gonna stand this guy up here. And as you can see, this is the front of it. It is about, the base plate's about 2 3/4 inch tall. And then the lower portion of the cross is about 22 inches tall. And then the rest of it is another 18 or so inches. So it comes out to around 4 feet tall. I'll measure it later on. But this is, the base plate's nice and sturdy. And then what I did, instead of just taking a big old hunk of solid stainless steel, which would have cost an astronomical amount compared to the $800 of material I did spend between the base plate and the 6 foot long 5 inch by 1/4 inch thick pieces that I bought, it would have been astronomical in price. So the cap that I welded on all the way around, you can see I drilled and tapped it for 5/8 bolts, which you see here. And then earlier in the video you saw me take an end mill and basically notch out a hole, a square hole if you will. It's rounded in the corners, so that way I have access to this. I had this block of just mild steel out of the scrap bin as well. So what I did is I bolted that to the base plate, and then I started attaching the long pieces of stainless flat stock to that block with these 1/4 inch countersunk stainless screws. And you can see I did it on all 4 sides, except this side I didn't actually bolt it to it because this block is actually not the complete inside width of this boxed in portion of the cross. So I just added a spacer block here, essentially a thick washer. And then the one side I just didn't do, but everything is all squared up for me to tack everything in place and then weld it on all the sides here. So that is that. So if I just take these 2 bolts loose, this whole piece is now one, because it was always the plan to weld all 4 pieces together
as you see here. So I probably never really have to take these screws out anyways. So that's pretty cool. So that is the base plate, the lower part, and then we have these threaded holes, so I can take the upper part here. And this is the back of the cross. So I will pick this guy up and face the front, obviously, towards the front of the cross. And then I have through holes to match up with the threaded holes. And they're pretty right on the money, so you have to get it just right. Because the cap on the bottom part and the plate for the top part, I actually grabbed them together in the vise and then drilled the starting hole through both of them, and then took the upper plate off and tapped the cap for 5/8 threads, and then put this plate back on separately and drilled a 5/8 hole for my through hole. And that's how I was able to get the through holes and the tapped holes to line up with each other pretty darn well. And you have to really get it just right. So we're trying to do it with one hand on video, and there we go. So when I deliver this, I can just tighten these up, but for now I'll keep them just finger tight. And again, please continue to comment on my TIG welding skills. What I did is I took this long piece here first, I laid it flat down on the workbench in the back of the shop, and I took this piece and laid it down next to it, and I put some weights on top of it. I just tacked here, then I tacked it here. And whenever you tack with welding, the one piece will slightly pick up one way or the other, so you have to kind of knock it back down in place or dog it down. And I did the same thing with this plate here. I tacked it here. Then I really went a little heavier with the weld you see here. And once I had this, I actually flipped it around and welded on the front. Now it might be overkill, but I just want to make sure this would never, my welds would never break off, and I would have enough welds and decent penetration. That way this will be stationary, but I won't have to worry about it. All the welds I did add up to some decent strength, at least I hope. So once I got the front of the cross done, then I started adding in this piece and this piece, and that's when you have to be, kind of intuitive, or what's the word? Not intuitive, but you have to be just use a little ingenuity as you're going along with where you're gonna place the ground, where you're gonna clamp that to for the welder, so it's not in your way. And that way you can get open the corners for the welds you need to get in the corners. And then also on this side and here, but also in the corner of 3 mating pieces, you want to drop a little welds, just sweat them together. I had to turn the welder a little bit, turn the amperage up just a little bit, so that I could actually get this stuff to melt a little easier and flow it together. Because I had it too low and it wasn't quite doing it for me like you see on this one. But any pieces with a slight gap, as you see here, I really had to heat it up and just kind of take the TIG gun and kind of, flow the 2 puddles back and forth till I got them melted close enough that they formed one puddle. Here I got a good weld going on here, and I went up in the corner there, as you can see. And then up in there as well. And then to finish it off, I had a little bit of material left, so I cut off a cap. And I just did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 welds around the top, just to really tie the top part together. And that way I can be confident that this will stand in its 4 feet tall height for a long time. And the base has enough weight so where it's not going to be, top heavy. So that's good. And I left it open, as you can see, because I ran out of material, but also because I was like, this actually might be better. I was gonna actually close in the sides and the back completely, but I was like, I kind of like the more open style on the top half, and then box in the lower half and close that off. Now, I had this cutout. You may be wondering, is there anything gonna cover up? And yes, you would be correct. So I had a piece of brass material And let me scoot back here. And I said, why not use this as a nice, cool cover plate? Just a solid hunk of brass to finish this thing out. So I put my initial, my first name on the, that's my, I guess my artist signature there. And then I have these 3 tapped holes because this intersection, as you can see, I rounded off with the end mill, the 4 corners, so that this intersection will actually be kind of a press fit into this gap to kind of cover up that hole. So because the press fit is going to be hard to get off, but I took these stainless set screws after I tapped 5/16 by 18 threads in 3 places, and I already tested this. With this fully pressed in, you can actually just use these as push-off bolts. I could have used actual bolts, but I like the set screw. It's nice and flush in there. Someone could take these out and put in 5/16 bolts if they really wanted to, but this works just fine. It's a little bit of a cleaner look. So I have the last set screw on the Allen wrench right there. It's a 5/32 Allen wrench. So the fun little thing I had my friends do before I finished the cross off is I let them stamp their names with these punches I had into the middle sections here. So we got Sydney, Elizabeth, CR for Carlton, Samuel, Daniel, Andrew, Edie JR for Edmund, and Mike. So, and I stamped 2024 because this cross was finished this year in 2024. So the last piece, all you have to do is take this brass piece, and it's real tight fit, but I got to get it started. And what I did is I mic'd this size from here to here. I took a caliper and measured it, and then I machined off here and here and took my mics and got down to just a press fit size, and then same thing on the side to side. So even though I have these little channels I milled out, the side fit remained intact. So hence the good fit. So what I'm gonna do is see if I can do this on camera, just kind of see if I can get it started. And I'm not back at the shop, not near the vise or the press, but I'm hoping I can just take a soft hammer and get it started. So I have it started on the one side, it's more out on this side. So I'm gonna give it a nice whack in the middle here and see if that'll help it along. Okay, yes, so it started on the one side and maybe I can work it. Okay, that's actually working pretty good. Actually created some brass shavings there in the process. Again, it's a really tight fit, but brass is forgiving. So as you can see, it's flush on the top, the side, and the other side, and the bottom. So this cross is officially done. I'll just take the last set screw and run it in. Again, I won't, you can feel it where it'll just start to get tight. So the bottom of the set screw is actually bottomed out against the stainless, but I won't turn anymore because that will actually start to push the brass piece off of the stainless. You can see I left this bit of material down here for it. So there you have it. That is the cross in its completed state. One last walk around. And thank you for watching all the machining videos because they are now coming to a close. I will not be machining anything else. And it's been fun. I've learned a lot, but it is time to move on to other things. So last machining video, signing off.